Hello and welcome to the Books Crypto Club weekly catch-up on Zoom. It is Sunday, 5th of December 2021, and today we're going to be talking about cryptocurrencies, blockchains, DeFi, NFTs, ICOs, STOs, any other letters really. Really depends upon who comes along. We talk about whatever people want to talk about really. The idea of this group is that it's to learn, it's to share, it's to find out information about what's going on in the marketplace, to learn about technologies and so on. Open to everybody. Please do come and join us on a Sunday evening, 7 p.m. UK time, or check us out on YouTube afterwards. Feel free to subscribe, click that like button, click the bell, make comments, whatever. But as I say, do come along and join us sometime. Anyway, let's see who's going to join us today. Hey, Ellen, good afternoon or good evening to you. You've been watching?
It's fine. Been a bit of a bloodbath in the crypto world this past 2 days, but everything is in a staking contract that takes 1 week to unstake, so there's nothing I can do about it. So
okay,
fine.
So where you're doing staking, does that just mean that you take the hit on the drop in the price, but it doesn't affect you in any other way?
Yeah, well, the token's going down, but you can't sell because and I don't have any money to buy when the dip's there, so I can't do anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it seems to have settled down over the last few hours as well. So maybe it's going to recover now. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. Yeah. Ernie, what's new in your world? You getting back into the crypto space again?
Not this week, Gary. I've had an operation during the week, so I'm just keeping my head low at the moment.
Okay. Well, hope you're recovering okay from that.
Slowly but surely.
Okay. It's been quite an interesting week, that less so on the blockchain side of things, but more on the crypto side of things, with the price of Bitcoin dropping probably around about 20%.
Really?
Over the last 36 hours. But to those who've been in this space for long enough, that's just a market correction.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's fascinating when you look at all the people who are new to this space, who are saying, "What just happened?" It's like, what do you mean, just what happened? Yeah. That's a normal day in crypto land, welcome aboard. So, yeah. But it's certainly, you take a look at the charts. I'll pull up Bitcoin and Ethereum to take a look at them. But yeah, there's certainly some big changes going on. So let's see what can I take a look at Bitcoin. You can see on Friday afternoon, I think it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, on the 3rd. Yeah, so it was tootling around 56, 57, and then things started going a bit interesting. And then all of a sudden, about 3 o'clock in the morning, yesterday morning, it kind of took a nosedive and went right from 53 down, just fell off the cliff, down to just under 48. So that's a fair percentage drop. And then it settled down. And you can see there's some massive sells going on. And then it settled down. It's a bit of a recovery, and it's hovering around about the 49 mark at the moment. So I think people were a bit concerned that if it dropped below 50, it would go into free fall, which it didn't. It certainly tanked for a while here, but it looked like it hit a kind of like a base about 46.5, which is well below the 50 mark, but that is gradually recovering. So we'll see. This is the world of crypto. These things happen. So, and what kind of I saw reflected as well is, if we take a look at that chart about how Bitcoin dropped from this number at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday, and then kind of settled down around about 5 o'clock yesterday morning. The same thing happened with Ethereum, but in a smaller order of magnitude. So we look at Ethereum, and again, around about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it was trading at just under 46, tanks away, then falls off the cliff, similar time, 4 a.m., and then settles down by 5 a.m. and it's all back to normal again. So
that's always the same, isn't it? It's Bitcoin starts and then the rest follows to virtually the same pattern.
I think someone did ask me recently, do altcoins all follow the same pattern? And I said, yes, they always do, except for when they don't. Because occasionally it happens that it would be logical to say, everything follows Bitcoin. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But on this occasion, it looks like it's followed the pattern quite closely. But what's interesting, though, is that the rate at which Ethereum dropped was lower than the rate at which Bitcoin dropped. So if we compare this, the chart I like to look at is looking at how much Ethereum costs in Bitcoin. So this is rather than Ethereum in dollars or Bitcoin in dollars. This is looking at how much Ethereum is in Bitcoin. And this point at which things started going wrong, you can see that relatively, the price of Ethereum in terms of Bitcoin did quite nicely. And it bounced up. So it's done quite well. It's up above where it was previously. Typically, it's fairly stable, but has been growing bit by bit lately and then decaying a bit. But when we had that sudden drop of Bitcoin price and Ethereum price, it looks like Ethereum relatively fared quite well out of it. Oh, that's my take on it. Anyway, I don't know if either of you got any other thoughts.
No.
I guess not. But I think otherwise, there's a lot of talk about Bitcoin futures being closed out. I think it was. There was some side deals that have been done that they closed off. So I don't know whether it was expiries of contracts or whether they had to fulfill on them. But I think that might have just accelerated things. It's the whole problem with having derivatives in there. It sometimes accelerates these moves in certain directions. So ho hum. Such is the life of the crypto world, as we say. So I don't know, Alan, have you been watching the markets at all this week, or have you been keeping down? Yeah.
No, the only thing I do is collect my my earnings for my farms and my pools and stick them back in a high interest pool, and that's all I do. Okay. Pretty much.
What where you're talking high interest at the moment, what sort of rates are you seeing on that?
1,500%
per annum.
Per annum, APR, yes.
Yeah. Okay. No, it's fascinating because when you compare what's going on in the crypto market, as you say, you're getting a return of 1,500% by locking things up. You think about in the fiat world, I'm trying to remember what the base rate is at the moment. I think it's below 0.5%.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like, I think people are beginning to say now that for some companies, if they want to hedge against inflation, because inflation's increasing quite rapidly at the moment, that maybe they need to take out a position in crypto just to reduce their exposure. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
Gary, how did the oil price go over the weekend? Has that dropped?
It's a good point. I don't look at oil prices, to be honest.
So I wonder if that's what's behind it.
I doubt it. People often say, what's caused this sudden crypto price change or whatever. I always say it's just a butterfly flapping its wings in the Amazon. Because you could claim it's the oil price, you could claim it's a change in COVID, you could claim it's a change in temperatures, you could claim anything. There's never any proof behind it. Do you think there's some connection with oil in some way then?
Sometimes, yeah. And I think the oil price was dropping on Friday. But I haven't seen it again because I was away for the weekend. And I haven't seen anything.
Okay.
And somewhere in the back of my mind, the Americans were doing something with Iran or something about their oil.
Okay. Well, let's see if we can find a decent
That sounds too logical. It's usually something like some influencer who sends a tweet that does things in the crypto world. An oil price would actually makes more sense.
Yeah, which means it can't be right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, most crypto investors are like teenage boys, aren't they? So, yeah, they I don't think they check the oil price.
Because the markets are open in the Far East.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering if something's happened in China or something as well.
Maybe. Let's see if I can get a chart up. Yeah, I'm not a firm believer in this whole thing about that.
It'd be great if we could find some correlation between something and then anticipate any Bitcoin drops.
Well, it's one of those. It's one of those. It's one of those things. If you can find a leading indicator, i.e., something that shows that something is going to happen, then definitely that can be quite good. But it's very rare you get that. So here's Brent crude, one of the recent contracts, and you can certainly see that on Thursday it took a hit. So it dropped down, but it went down by $1, so that's like a few percent, isn't it? But that was on Thursday, US time. Nothing kind of happened on the Friday because the price movements on crypto were all on. It began Friday afternoon at 1 p.m. I think it was. So kind of trying to do the conversion. CDT is about 5 hours ahead, so we go to about here. Yeah, it seems fairly settled. That's Brent. Yeah, so again, there was a big drop on the second, but nothing on the third. So I don't think so. I'm never convinced because you can certainly try and draw out a comparison with oil and gold, and sometimes you'll see a correlation. But I don't think
there's it just doesn't appear to be any logic behind the movement of the share. The crypto prices, but Coinbase normally do a narrative as well. They sort of say this happened today, which forced the market, whatever, or so and so was in the market. But it does make you wonder if someone is out there pumping and dumping.
Yeah. Which is this is certainly one of the problems, that the crypto market is still small enough that people can influence things. But it's like
it's usually me who buys stuff and then it causes Bitcoin to drop.
Yeah, well that's right. Yeah. Anyway, we're saying with Ellen that what we think of doing is that if she tells us everything that she's going to do in the crypto world, and then we do the opposite. Then we could do quite nicely at that. But yeah, there's no rhyme, no reason, and I've seen it over time where you see for a while there is some correlation of activity and prices between whether it's gold, oil, silver, stock markets or whatever, and crypto. And there's a period sometimes where they are quite closely correlated, and then it just collapses and there's no correlation. The interesting thing as well, though, and from a financial investor perspective, so I'm thinking this is like hedge funds and asset managers and this kind of thing. When you actually have something that has got a low level of correlation with other stuff you've got investments in, that's really, really good. They come up with a thing called the Sharpe ratio. And the Sharpe ratio is it looks at the correlation between your assets. And if you've got a low level of correlation between what you've got investments in, that gives it a really good Sharpe ratio, which is really good. What it basically says, when I was looking at it last year, is that by even holding a small amount of cryptocurrencies, because they behave quite differently to oil, gold, property, shares and that kind of thing, then it makes quite a favorable Sharpe ratio, which means it's good to have a divested holding, even if it's a small amount, in crypto, and it can make quite a significant difference. So, but this is not financial advice, as always. It's just reflecting what the financial people say. But I don't know if there's anything else happening in the market or the world or anything at the moment. All seems fairly quiet.
I guess Russia invading the Ukraine shortly will be causing lots of upheaval again.
Yeah,
possibly.
Well, you've certainly got that looming on the horizon. Then you've got China and Taiwan looming on the horizon.
Yeah.
There's massive amounts of internal protests going on around the world at the moment around COVID restrictions and that. So you take a look at mass demonstrations in London, Barcelona, Vienna, Rotterdam. So there's a general thing. It's where it's interesting as well that there's another thing called, is it the VIX index?
The VIX,
yeah, which is the volatility index.
Volatility,
or it's also known as the fear index.
Oh yeah.
And it's an indicator as to how uncertain the world is, and so how fearful we are. I think at times the VIX index can be quite closely correlated to crypto. So it looks like when we're fearful, we'll do things like we'll put money into things that we think are safe harbors. So this is where gold used to do quite well. And there's the theory that more people will put into crypto, but then they didn't. Because again, you would have thought with the likes of COVID and all this kind of thing, that that would have resulted in loads of people buying into crypto as a safe harbor. And at one point it didn't happen. That's I'm just going to pull in the VIX index because that's quite an interesting one to look at as well. Good looking chart, but you can see how you get these levels of uncertainty. Bumps out. It looks like it's been fairly settled until towards the end of the month. So 24th November, so yeah, just over a week ago, got this sudden spike of going quite high for a while and increasingly uncertain at the moment. So that could be an indicator of more market volatility generally. No, not in the crypto world.
Yeah.
But generally, it's like, I don't know if this will play.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It is interesting that there is a full narrative around that the whole fear type thing of what's going on in the world has an effect. And then because that increases volatility, that means things like shares and that are going to be more volatile going up or down. And I think we'll probably see a similar thing. It would be interesting to overlay this on crypto. Okay, so it's another thing to look at. We had someone the other week who was talking about checking crypto prices against astrology charts.
Right.
Actually, in fairness, it wasn't astrology charts. I'm being unfair on that. It was phases of the moon, I think it was.
Oh dear.
No, and the interesting thing was that there was more than a small degree of correlation between phases of the moon.
Is it when the full moon's there, then people buy or sell?
I think it was the opposite. I may have it wrong. I did record it because we actually talked about it a few weeks ago in one of our previous meetings. And we had a couple of people who had looked at it and had used it and that. I think it's, if I remember correctly, it's when it's a full moon is when you sell.
Okay.
As a broad kind of guide. But yeah, they went into it a few weeks ago. I can't remember which week it was. We covered it now. But there did seem to be this link in some way around phase of the moon. And whether it's because that's the way that perhaps affects how people think and like how motivated or unmotivated or happy or unhappy they are. So
new moon. It's a new moon now.
Okay.
That means everyone's buying.
That means it could be a good time to buy if it's a new moon, which particularly with the price of Bitcoin crashing somewhat. This is not investment advice, but so we'll see. We'll check that out, because I've seen a few times now where I run these sessions Sunday evening, and about 10 o'clock at night, I don't know if it's the Asian market fully opening up. Trying to think time zone wise, actually that's Australia probably opening up at 10 o'clock at night. But you quite often see an uptick in activity round about 10 o'clock. And I always say that's because people have been watching what we talked about on this discussion. They go off and buy. I'd love it if that was true, but I don't think so somehow. I think it's been a little bit ambitious. So yeah, keep an eye on the moon.
Okay.
I don't know if you got any other thoughts or ideas or offbeat ways of doing things. I noticed, I think it was Cointelegraph today was talking about meme coins again, and things like all the dog-related coins, so things like Doge, Shiba Inu, and how that they've all been going up quite nicely. So
I wouldn't touch them with a barge pole.
It's one of those things that you get to the point though of, even though you don't understand them, even though you don't see the point of them, etc. If you can see that the chart is going up like a rocket, there is this kind of FOMO, this fear of missing out of, there's some good profits to be made there. That's usually at the point where a lot of people put money in and then it tanks.
Yeah.
Because people behave like that. We look at something and we think because the chart is going up, that means it's going to carry on going up. Whereas it's usually just at that precise moment it's about to drop down again. So
that FIG chart looks interesting to me. I'd be quite interested to see how it correlates. Like, I know there was a massive crash in 2017, and back in June, was it?
It was the end of December 2017.
Yeah.
It was when Bitcoin had just hit $20,000 in December. And just over Christmas, it kind of like tanked, and I think it dropped to 8,000 or something. So
it always does it when it hits like another milestone. I think people set some sort of sell robots, and then they all do it at exactly the same amount. So you need to just do it like 2 cents under a milestone. Yeah,
definitely on that. I'll try and put something in the video. I'll load up that thing from that. That'll be good. Right, thanks for coming along anyway.
Thank you.
I shall see you again. Cheers now.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, so quite a short session today with only a couple of people coming along, but hopefully there's still some interesting stuff there about Bitcoin and Ethereum. So do come along for a future session, or at the very least, do remember to subscribe, to like, watch some of the other videos as well, and you'll see what we sometimes cover off. Until next time, bye for now.